My name is Sarah. I was asked to make a video of the fountains that I made and posted earlier last week. These are the first fountains I've ever made. I made 3 of them without testing things out. So I learned some things went wrong, but I wanted to share what I learned with you. So the first thing, that's my cat, Goose. The first thing that I made a mistake on was that I made these shallow basins, and they were only like 1 inch high. The pump that I got is this, and it's a pretty small pump, but it also is about 1 inch high. So I didn't want the water to be below the pump, even if it covered it a little bit. Water evaporates really fast, so you'd have to be feeding it over and over. So this is about 2.5 inches. If you can make it bigger, the better, because then you won't have to refill it as much. But this seems to work fairly well. So I did make several basins before I got to the ones that I really liked. I made a little nook for the cord. You could do that. I forgot to do it on one of them, and it was fine too, but it just feeds it a little better. One of the things that I did, because I was making a cat fountain, was to cut this. I found it at the pet store. I cut it into shape to fit. I don't have, oh, here we go. This is the pump. To fit around here. This is where the intake of the water is. So I fit around here, and then I put a rubber band around, and this catches any of the kitty fuzz. Speaking of which, that might be coming in. You also want to clean these, on a regular basis. Let's see, what else? So it took me a while to figure out how to do this because there wasn't really much instructions, but obviously you need something for the pump to sit in. And one of the other considerations you want to do is make sure it fits. It fits into this space. I'm not actually sure this will actually fit in here with the pump, but the other one that I made did. Another consideration, you want to make sure that there's a place for the cord to come out. So this is my main stand for my fountain. So the cord comes out here, but another thing is that the water needs to go in here. So one of the ones that I did, I forgot to do a water intake. I just made a little niche for the cord. So I ended up having to take a Dremel and Dremel some more niches in so that the water comes in, because you have the water coming in and you have it going out the top. So I made a base. Where the pump goes in, you need to have access to put the tube in. So for instance, the next level down, it's all one thing, right? It's attached to the base. But this one, you can't do that because then it'd be really hard to fiddle with. Maybe if it was really big, that'd be okay. So, this fits my hand. You can kind of make it work. This is the top for the basin. This is where the water comes out. One of the mistakes I made, which was really hard to calculate with the shrinkage, was this hole was too big. So the tube, which comes out of the pump, was just sliding around. So I think there can be some wiggle room with that where water comes out, but it was ending up not actually coming out the spout. It was just going back down, and the basin was just slightly filling, not the basin, this top part. So what I did was I took some silicone, like caulking, and I just made a little ring around here. And so now, not only does it fit quite well, but it's also the rubberness of the silicone kind of keeps it stuck in there, which is nice. So to put it together, I would need to run this in here and then have it go through this thing. So you want to cut the tube to the right length. You also want to make sure, with this, there's enough room to have the pump kind of stick up as I'm doing this. Another fountain that I made is really difficult to do that. So it's, you know, that I'd have like just a little bit of room to get that pump in, but this one's wide enough for that. If the tube is too long, it can rock. I know some people have done stuff with PVC pipe. I couldn't figure out what that was, so this is how I do it. But you do want to make sure that the pump is sitting on the basin. Usually they have suction cups on them, so it'll keep it down. And then, you know, for this one, I just have it sticking out a little. Another thing to consider is I think I would have made these little spouts deeper because there's only, you know, this much that it can flow down. So this part of it is filled up almost all the way to the top. And what happens is if I turn on the pump, it has a switch where you can make it stronger or lower. I have to do the lowest setting here because if I turn it on higher, the kind of, it jostles the water and it falls off the side. But I think if I had made a bigger spout here, there'd be more room for it to have that jostling. So these detach. Then I made the other ones. For this one, I made I threw a base and I threw the top, and I cut it and put a slab here. And another thing, I kind of played around with this. Some of them had different things, but I think the best thing to do for this to fit in the water so that there's not like a air gap is to put, you know, a water intake here, or like a little niche, and then put a hole up here so that the air can let the water in. That's my recommendation. I did that with another one of mine. And then, so this kind of sits here, and this sits here. This one cracked a little on the top, but the glaze ended up sealing it. It is, I don't know if you could see that, there was some cracking, and that turned out okay. Another thing to consider with the basin is that, is how wide it is, right? So I was trying my best to make this as big as possible. This one I did, I threw a big, the walls of it I threw, and then I put it on a slab because it's an oval shape. But this doesn't, you know, have a lot of room to flow out into. So ideally it would have been a little bit bigger. And also the height, because I made the basins and the first basins were lower, you know, there's not a lot of height on this, although you're usually looking into a fountain, so that's not as big a deal. The other thing, I luckily realized before I continued my first one, was that these spouts really need to be the same on each of the tiers. Because if this one's bigger and then these are smaller and smaller, this water is going to be flowing and it's going to overflow there, it's going to overflow there. So if anything, you would want the smallest one to have the biggest spout. And that's my reasoning. I'm not totally like, that's how I did it and it worked. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but it makes sense, right? Like they should each be about the same so the water can flow the same way. I think that's most of what I learned. Yeah, so, and then, you know, I if you want to search my name, I have two other fountains. One of them is a teapot going into a teacup. And that, it's somewhere else right now, I'm sorry to say, but the tea cup that was sitting in the saucer, if you're gonna have something that has multiple spouts coming out, so that saucer had, you know, little spouts coming out, and my idea was that it was gonna flow nicely down. But I did not level that and make sure that all the spouts were level. So it ends up flowing out one side instead of nicely in those slots. The other thing is with all spouts, you really don't want it to dribble. And that's, you know, the potter's dilemma, right? Trying to make a spout that doesn't dribble. My recommendation is to try and have the spout curve down and then have a sharp cutoff. So you can see that breaks the water tension. It won't run back down here because you definitely want it to cascade, right? And I think that's all. One of my fountains I did have raw clay. I didn't glaze some of it, which I'll see if that is bad in the end. It might be really hard to clean, but what I did do with that one also was to put some liquid quartz on it, which really repels the water. So hopefully that will hold up. Otherwise, I'll have to figure something else out. But yeah, so I guess if you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, these are the first fountains I've ever made, so I'm just guessing here. But anyway, thanks for watching.